Well, here we go. June 14th, 2020. The Sunday night All Things Natural Net. For those who don't know, the Sunday night All Things Natural Net is an amateur radio net hosted by the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club. Well, hosted by me, KD2IIN, on the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club's repeater, the 146.805 megahertz machine located in Woodstock, New York, with a PL shift of 600 kilohertz and with a negative shift of 600 kilohertz and a PL tone of 103.5. So we run the radio net and then we stream it here on the YouTube channel, and so I don't often get to pay attention to chat, so if I'm not responding to something you're saying in chat, I apologize, but I'm busy running the log and paying attention to the radio conversation. So it's 9 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and get this net started, and we'll go from there. This is KD2IIN Net Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. The Sunday Night All Things Natural Net is an amateur radio net sponsored by the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club, located in beautiful Ulster County, New York, and dedicated to farming and gardening and a broader scope of topics surrounding the like. Without further ado, let's get started. This is KD2IIN Net Control, looking for check-ins for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net.
K2GOG first check-in, yay. KD2TLF Guy.
So I'm writing down the call signs and names in the call log here.
KD2PQS 10.
So that's why you see me writing. Hey, Bomber. Hey, Geeky. Alright, so far the net recognizes K2GOG, Steve, KD2MQE, David, KD2TLF, Guy, and KD2PQS, Ken. Are there any further check-ins at this time? How are you guys doing? Alright, no further check-ins recognized at this time. We're going to go ahead and get started. K2GOG, Steve, how are you tonight? It's been a long time.
It has indeed been a long time, CJ. I hope everything is all well and good with yourself and everybody in your general community, or whatever you want to call it, family, etc. What's the latest with me? I've been spending the last hour and a half moving my sprinkler around in the overly dry front yard that's been just getting annihilated this summer. So I'm trying to breathe some life into it. So that's the immediate. I have one more zone that I have to move it to, which after I unkey, I'll probably do that. So that's the latest, and then I'll have a question for the net, given the scope of it, related to the topic. But beyond that, today I went down to New Jersey and played VHF contest at High Point State Park. But this is not the net for that conversation. Anyway, that's about it, and I'll come back with a question on the next go-around. So this is K2GOG, back over to you, CJ.
Alright, fantastic. Well, glad to have you along again, and yeah, I hear you on the watering. I had to do some irrigating before I could even do any tilling to start getting ready for planting. Just things were so dry, the ground was just like a rock. So I hear you, so I hope you're able to soak down through the top layer and get some moisture in there. Very good. Well, thanks for joining the net, and we'll roll on down and we'll pick up your question on the next round. KD2MQE, David, you're up.
We are
all sweet, aren't they, Bomber?
But, you know, we're kind of practically urban in town here, so we're just, you know, watering the yard and the roses that are annoying about needing it more than everything else is. But, yeah, I don't know that I can talk for as tall as you shoot, sometimes 30 to 90 seconds, enough to get Steve to move his sprinkler around enough, so I'll dance back
David. And yeah, I don't think it really matters where you are so much. It's just been super dry here. I don't think we've had any real rain to speak of probably in 3 weeks or maybe a month, except for this last shot that we got about an inch here the other day, which was a welcome relief. But we need more. But it definitely helped. All right, let's roll on down to Guy, KD2 TLF.
Yeah, thank you, CJ. Hi, everybody else. Yeah, it's pretty dry here. We got about an inch of rain 2 or 3 days ago, but that's all evaporated by now, and I've been reserving my watering for new grass patches that I planted and the garden that we're getting started. And that's all for right now. KD2 TLF.
Very good, very good. Well, yeah, I've been managing where I put my water as well. I can't water everything at once. I kind of have to rotate through, so I hear that. All right, let's roll on down to KD2 PQS. Ken.
KD2 Tango Quebec Sierra.
Tango.
Not a problem on that. Could do phonetic more often. Given that it's only a suburban backyard, sitting here looking at the grass, which has no problem, but not growing any crops, so the amount of water level doesn't really matter that much. Just enjoying the nature that's here anyway. So that's all I have on this round. Back to them.
All right, very good. And I apologize. I think you corrected me last week on the call sign as well. Kilo Delta 2 Tango Quebec Sierra. I think I got it now. So I apologize for the mistake there. And very good. Well, there are definitely some advantages to not having large tracts of land to water, namely time and energy-wise. All right, let's see if there's any further check-ins, then we'll roll back to the top of the list and pick up Steve's question. This is KD2 IIN, net control for the Sunday night All Things Natural Net. If there are any further check-ins, please call now. I glitched.
KD2 QQV.
Man, he's loud.
Here's K2BHM.
All right, the net recognizes KD2 QQV. Don, how are you tonight?
Doing okay. I'm just going to probably be listening, unless, something comes up that interests me, because don't know what to say about the gardening department. I got no garden. There's plants around the house, but, I don't have anything to do with them, so. But, just listening. KD2QQP back to net.
All right, very good, Don. Well, that's perfectly okay. Glad you joined us. All right, let's roll on down to Jim, K2BHM.
Thanks, CJ. Well, I'm happy to report that as the discussion started earlier, Mo, Larry, and Curly were totally delicious for dinner tonight.
Jim had lobster for dinner.
Wife's birthday dinner, everything went off nice. Thanks, K2BHM.
All right, very good. Glad you got to enjoy them in their best environment, and glad you enjoyed your dinner and your wife had a good birthday. Fantastic. All right, we'll just pause one more time and see if there's any further check-ins, and then we'll roll back to the top of the list and pick up Steve's question. This is KD2 IIN, net control for the Sunday night All Things Natural Net. If there are any further check-ins, please call now. Hey, Jim. How are you? All right, no further check-ins recognized. We're going to roll back to the top of the list. K2GOG, Steve, I think you had a question for the net. Pick it up.
I did. Good evening to everybody. My lawn is now officially hydrated. Should
Cold.
last hopefully for the next 15 hours before it all just evaporates. And I'll say, these geese turds, they have not been providing any level of nutrients to the soil. The sun has just baked them
Thanks,
to a
Jim.
crisp.
Yeah,
anyway, my question for the net is, I'm wondering, as we get closer to field day at Ferncliff Forest, I wonder if there's anybody who would be interested in trying to identify positively 5 wild edible plants in Ferncliff. So that's my question. If anyone would like to do that. So back to you, CJ.
Okay. That's a good question. I have no idea, but you know who comes to mind immediately is Neil, W2NDG. I'll put it back to you for further comment. Very nice, Kiki. Very nice.
Yes, and actually when Neil and I, along with many others, were there doing some recent volunteer work, Neil and I were chatting about that, and he was like, oh, this you could eat, and that you could eat, and, all that kind of fun stuff, and it's honestly been a while since I've really dove into any of the wild edibles, but didn't realize he was such a big expert on it, so we were kind of thinking it would be kind of a fun thing to do, but that was just a little side conversation that I had with him there, so I figured I'd broadcast it out to the wider world, and there you go.
I hear you, Geeky. All right, very good. We'll put that question out to the rest of the people on the list. I'll bet quite a few people in the net here tonight know at least one wild edible thing. Now, whether they could find it at Ferncliff or not might be another story, but that's certainly worth looking into. Would be an interesting thing to add to the field day menu. All right, let's roll on down to David, KD2 MQE.
No, I cannot do that. And I was with you guys when that was going on in Ferncliff a couple weeks ago with Neil. And
Hey, Chris.
Neil was like, downing my social distancing groove by saying, like, here, you can eat this, I can eat this. We were all like eat this thing that he pulled out of the swamp. And I think it was a good thing. I forget what it was, but it looked good. Some kind of like garlic or
Jalapeno poppers, yeah.
But yeah, so we have to combine the wild edible thing with the distancing thing and the single server distancing thing and combine our metaphors this year. It's going to be goofy that way. But yeah, so right, nothing other than I don't know how to deal with it, but we will. It will be fun. Okay, back to that. Thank you.
All right, very good. Well, that answers that question for one. Let's roll on down to Guy, KD2 TLF.
Thank you. I'd enjoy knowing more about edible plants. The only one that I could recognize is wild thyme that I have I have about a quarter acre of it in my lawn, and I recognize it because when I go over it to cut it, it just smells wonderful. But
that wild thyme is awesome.
Yeah, I was with Neil at Ferncliff Forest, and he was picking stuff up and saying, check this, smell this. It was very interesting. And actually that would be a valuable thing to know, just some edible plants that are native to this area. So that'd be interesting. And then there's radio too. KD2TLS.
All right, very good. Yeah, I completely agree. I think it would be an interesting addition to everything, and I'm glad that we're having this discussion on the radio. This whole radio thing, we find ourselves in the woods quite frequently. It's good to be more in tune with that environment and able to use more of the materials and foods from it. So, fantastic. Let's see. Let's roll on down to Ken, KD2 TQS.
With a twofer, because the one now plays into the other. The first comment I have for Don is, only 5? You have that in your front lawn. Drop. The second one goes to Jim, which will answer the first one. You're having me living vicariously through others once again, because when I worked up in Maine as a guide, on my last day of work, I drove home, and we had a big party planned back here in New York State. Drove down, stopped on the dock in Freeport, and got the lobsters. I think I got about 50 pounds of lobster, and another 50 pounds of clams and crabs right off the boat. And and drive back down through. Quite a few years ago, but thank you very much for that memory. I would be glad to teach some edibles to people that are interested. I used to teach edible and medicinal plants and worked as a guide.
Awesome.
Previously,
Awesome.
plenty of stuff out there. My time at Ferncliff will be limited on field day, but if I'm there, let me know, and we can easily social distance because I can just point them out to you from where we're standing and go from there. So that's all I have on that topic. Back to you.
It's a winner, Geeky. Alpino M is the winner. Winner, winner, winner. Everyone's a winner. All right. Well, thank you for that contribution, Ken. I did not realize you were previously a guide in Maine, of all places, which is a beautiful state. And that's awesome that you have that knowledge as well. That will facilitate some excellent conversations if we ever, well, whenever things sort of return to normal and we get an eye-to-eye, maybe at field day or something. But I'm glad to know you have that knowledge base as well. So yeah, I knew there were some people hiding in here with good info. All right, let's roll on down to Don, KD2QQV.
KD2QQV. Yeah, wild fruits and plants. Yeah, you got to know what you can eat and what you can't. You got to know how to identify them. I know that much. I know I like wild blueberries and blackberries. You can even eat clover. 4-leaf clover, 3-leaf clover. But you better boil it. But there are certain plants I know you can eat that and some of them are healthier than the ones that you buy in the store. So it's good to know that. So I'm learning a little bit. Keep going, KD2QQV.
All right, very good, Don. Well, thank you for your commentary. All right, let's roll on down to K2BHM, Jim.
Oh, thanks, CJ. Oh, where do I start? Okay. Ken, first off, I am an expert on everything. And let me clarify that. Excess and unknown quantity, and spurt is a drip under pressure. So as long as you accept that definition, I'm your man. Anyhow, years ago I was field service, and I
I'm
wound
not a
up
fan
up
clam,
in
but I like lobster. I could eat a ton of
the
lobster.
upper extremities, and found a place
Crab
in
is good,
Portland,
too.
Maine that had a fantastic lobster dinner.
I was managing to resist this hunger before.
Enjoyed it immensely. And later on, wanted to go back up
Breaking
there on
down
vacation and take my wife up to enjoy the same thing. And now it's Jose's Steakhouse. So we went around looking for a dinner and so forth, and checked into one of those sites that information on the side of the
Crab
road.
is killer.
And the very nice lady there sent
Crab
us
cakes are
to the
killer.
place next door to
Could eat a
Adam's
zillion
Meat
crab
Market.
cakes.
Let me drop it. Well, it was Adam's Meat Market we found out
I knew you'd appreciate
years
that,
ago.
Cookie.
And he's been out of business. He was only in there for
That's
about
just
6 months or
a
whatever, and now it's this other place and whatever, and so we eventually wound up with our lobsters, but it was a challenge.
Fair enough, Bomber.
Anyhow, it's quite a investigation, quite a challenge to come up with something, and these guys were very
Hey,
cooperative
Chris.
tonight. We got them drunk first, and and it was a very enjoyable dinner. Anyhow, that's about it. I can't think of anything else to add. K2BHM.
All right, very good. Well, thanks for taking us on that journey, Jim. All right, let's see if there's any further check-ins here quick. This is KD2N Net Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. Looking for any further check-ins. Further check-ins, please call now. This is W2NDG. Are there any further check-ins? No further check-ins. Neil, how are you tonight? And I don't know if you caught Steve's question earlier, but he was looking for 5 edible foods that we might be able to find at Ferncliff Forest. So I'm sure you have some insight and thoughts on that, and I'll put it back to you. Welcome to the net.
I started listening.
Moose would be, yeah, I could eat moose.
People about the house.
YTFP, how's it going?
Perked my ears up here, but I was on the other side of the room.
No
But
claws.
I did get the gist of it.
That's even better. Give
Yeah,
you less
it
of
can
a
be done.
fight.
I mean, the same things that I saw when we were there may not be, in season at that point, but I can always poke around in advance and see what we can find. So, it's certainly doable.
2 shots of maple syrup. Yeah. Alright, very good. This is KD2I and Net Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. We're going to roll back to the top of the list to Steve, K2GOG.
Alright, well, I knew I had a good question to get everyone out of the woodwork, so to say. Well, now that there's officially 2 experts that have been uncovered, one of which I already knew, but Ken, now we're going to have to put you to task. So if you are able to make it to field day in various capacities, maybe we could seek you out to find your own 5, and Neil can find his own 5. I already have 5, so that's 15. I'm sure between the 3 of us and then maybe some other people, we can find another 5 and maybe end up with 20.
Duplicates.
There'll be a survey that our leader, K2JLV, will be sending out in the next couple of days, asking some levels of interest related to field day. One of those questions will be who's interested in a tour of 2 different loops within Ferncliff that I'm very familiar with. One of which I know it's going to be out of season, but there's a wild blackberry stand hidden somewhere. I think I may have chatted with you, CJ, at some point. Actually, I think I was actually hiking around there one day. But yeah, we can point out all sorts of fun edibles. Yeah, a couple weeks ago, I think it was wild ginger is what Neil was shoving in our faces. So I don't know. I think it'll be fun, and it sounds like a topic that people would have a general interest in. So I'm looking forward to it. And with that, I'm going to go into listening mode because some other people are tugging at me here. So with that, if I don't come on the next go-around, everyone have a great evening, and catch you again real soon. But hopefully I'll be back for the next turn. This is K2GOG. Back to you, CJ.
Alright, sounds good, Steve. Well, thanks for spawning good discussion. And yeah, blackberries would be later. They would be end of July or into August. But black caps are around end of June, early July, and I actually find those to be sweeter and more delicious than blackberries. Alright, let's roll on down to David, KD2 and QE.
David QE, I'm just making a note, black cat. I'll keep an eye out for it. Yeah, it was wild ginger, thank you, Steve, for reminding me what that was.
Neil's teeth.
And if any of you guys are like mycology guys, that would be
Young
cool.
Polly.
So we're in New Paltz.
How's it going,
so,
dude?
Rosendale is the next town over, regularly runs an entirely sold out documentary about mushrooms every once in a while, and they need to raise money. That was, in the old days before people stopped going to the movies. But yeah, I'm curious about the mushroom gang, if there's anybody in this crowd yet. So that's nice for me. Back to TJ.
Alright, very good. Mushrooms is a good thing to add to the discussion as well, and that actually could technically fall under wild edibles, although I don't know if Steve is referring specifically to plants or anything in the wild that's edible. Of course, that opens the menu up a bit. Yeah, I would imagine Neil is probably also onto those as well, but we'll make him wait his turn and go on down the list in order here. KD2 TLF Guy, you're up.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm always amazed at the variety of interests and topics of knowledge of people on this that I've been talking to on this repeater. It really is fascinating, and just gives me more to look forward to for field day. This will be my first field day, and I'm really looking forward to it. And that's it for me on this go-round. KT2 TLF.
All right, very good. Yeah, it's one thing I always find on the 805, some excellent discussions, always good information, and if you have a question about something, you can pretty much guarantee there's somebody out there on the repeater that knows a good bit about it and can at least point you in a good direction. So it's an excellent community we have here in OMARC. All right, let's roll on down to Ken at KD2 TQS.
So I have a comment for Jim. He definitely will understand it. Perhaps the others won't. But Jim, I know your problem for finding the lobster in Portland. You're in Portland, Maine, looking for lobster. And anybody knows you can't get law from here. Back to them.
All right, but I will say that if you're going to park, you got to make sure you're not going to get a ticket, so you best pack the car. KD2 QQV, Don, you're up.
Yeah, KD2QQV. Yeah, still talking about other wild things. I was looking at my frogs, frog legs. We gotta watch with frogs because some of them are poisonous. If I was in the wild,
it's incredible stuff.
You know, there's insects, but you know, if you're in a dire situation, ants, crickets, you know, you want to know how to cook them. You want to really take the legs off them, fry them, or however you like to eat them. There's ways to survive out there. I know that much. But thank God I'm not in that situation just yet. Yeah, there's a lot of different things that you can eat out there that are definitely not really on a menu in your favorite store or a restaurant, I should say. But that's about it I got to say right now. Back to net, KD2QQV.
All right, very good, Don. Yeah, there's quite a range of stuff you can eat. I know one of the permaculture courses I talk, a man named Bill Mollison talks about his time out in the Australian desert and all the crazy things they eat out there. And I think ants and all sorts of rodents were on the menu because the meat ratio of above ground to below ground animals in the desert is like 10 to 1, so most of your protein is actually below ground there. Anyway, let's roll on down to Jim, KH2BHM.
Oh God, there's so many comments, I don't know if I can track them all. Yeah, okay. Yeah, lobsters. I remember going back in high school to the car show in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and we stopped at the little drive-in, little hamburger shack, and they ordered the burger and fries and the chocolate shake. And in Hershey, Pennsylvania, I couldn't get a chocolate shake; they were all out. Okay. Anyhow, yeah. So field day. We bring our radios and our knives and forks and our balsamic, and what else? We need to have a gourmet food list for this. Okay, this could be interesting. Oh God, there's so many more comments, but I really should constrain myself. I don't want to get thrown off the net. K2PHM.
Oh, I think you'd have to be pretty out of line to get thrown off the net, Jim, but I'll just leave it there. All right, this is KD2IIN, control for the Sunday night All Things Natural Net. We're going to roll on down to Neil, W2NDG.
have a wild red raspberry that ripens right around the same time, maybe slightly later. And you'll find them in the same area sometimes. The black raspberries, the wild red raspberries, and then there's also something called a purple flowering raspberry, which usually doesn't taste that great, but every now and then you get a really good crop of them. This would be a year for that because of the mild winter and everything else growing like crazy. And then there is also a different form of wild black raspberry that you'll see once in a while, but they're kind of rare, but they're larger like the red ones. There's so many of them, and then there's blackberries and dewberries and swamp berries. Those are the low ones that have the larger composite pieces, like the blackberries you see in the supermarket. But plenty of them. It's a big thing around here, and you could definitely fill, just by looking in various places, several, bowls or bags with these things. And they are good, especially if you like to do things with them. Preserves, pies, everything else. But, yeah, we'll find some stuff. And it's just a coincidence. I did happen to start listening right when Steve came on, because I was in a different part of the house up to that.
That makes sense, YTFP. All right, very good. This is KD2 and Net Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. And yeah, we have both of those here, Neil. The wild black raspberry, also commonly known as the black cap, as well as the wild red ones, the slightly larger ones. Much less fruit productivity on those, but they're pretty delicious also. But the black caps, those black raspberries, are my addiction come late June, early July. And then the blackberries are also delicious. For those who don't know, the difference between a black raspberry and a blackberry is the black raspberry detaches from the stem, and the blackberry comes off with the stem still attached to the berry. So that's how you know the difference between them. Also, the blackberry, as I mentioned earlier, ripens much later than the wild black raspberry or the wild red raspberry. And the purple ones I was not familiar with, so thanks for the educational schooling on that. And we'll, let's see, we'll do a pause here for check-ins. One sec. This is KD2 and Net Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. If there are any further check-ins, please call now. Alright, no further check-ins recognized at this time. We're going to go back to the top of the list, K2GOG.
Alright, well, I'm back, and I have no distractions, which is good. And yeah, I'm glad I was able to be the fire starter here. And so now I'll have to kind of put the call out for a guilt trip. Now, Neil, with all the stuff that's going on in your life, now you have to make sure that you join us, at least during the daylight hours, because trekking around...
I'd love to try foraging in Oregon.
High acidity,
I'd love to see
swampy
Oregon.
type of area, which is perfect for these type of berries that we're talking about. Let's just say it's some place that you usually don't want to be mucking around in the evening hours, or although I feel like that'll be an interesting, wild, edible tour, but I don't know if the club's insurance rider covers that type of activity in the evening hours. But that being said, I'm excited and trying to find some other things that we can do beyond just CQ Field Day. This is November 2 Lima Lima type of stuff, because there's so much amazing things we could also look at Ferncliff, and those of us that have participated in Winter Field Day do not know about much of that, so I'm glad I can start the conversation there. And I will be more than happy to eat my fellow black caps. They are rather tasty. Back to you, CJ.
Probably black caps, bomber, black raspberries. All right, very good. Well, thanks for opening an excellent discussion, Steve. And you mentioned that high swampy area around there. It also made me think, I would imagine there are wild blueberries in there as well. All right, let's roll on down to KD2 MQE, David.
MQE, thanks. Well, maybe we want to partner. We've got, a week and a half. We could partner up with the Country Club in the Caribbean and try to, see if they can look for after dark vegetables and things that glow in the dark, because I think when you get down into the tropics that kind of thing. So we could be like hiking out during the day, and we could get them to report on what vegetables they're finding in the evening. I think that's it for me. Just one quick last thing to Jim. We're like Jim and Paul ADTQ and I are like fooling around with another website to like figure out how to classify things or what to do, and we were thinking about categories and how to like line up articles that people wanted to read, and you know what would be fun to offer to people up front, what's interesting about what we're doing. And raspberries now come up in a couple of contexts, so we have to figure out our cataloging, like we have to make catalog cards or something. So when we're talking about raspberries, either it's fruit or it's one of those little cigarette pack size plastic things. And we hadn't thought about that at all, but now it's all raspberries. So seasonal advice for us. Thanks. Back to that. Thanks.
We have some wild strawberries here too, YTFB, and they're delicious, but they're very small. All right, well, thanks for the contribution there, David. And yeah, I don't know, maybe there is a way to catalog all this stuff, or you know, keep these forward-rolling conversations kind of tied together somehow. I think you probably would know more about that than I do. All right, let's roll on down to KD2 TLF Guy.
Thank you. Don't know what more I have to contribute. Just a comment, though, that of the food we've talked about, I think I would lean more towards the lobster than the subterranean rodents or other or crickets. Particularly, I would lean toward lobster with a little butter. But I am getting hungry, and I am looking forward to field day. So that'll be my comment for now. KD2 TLF.
All right, very good. Yeah, I was managing to resist the lobster and seafood conversation earlier tonight, but having it brought back up several times is making me very hungry for some seafood. I got crab cakes on the head now. Anyway, let's go down to KD2 TQS. Ken. Lobster's better than crickets for sure.
Another question for Jim that dovetails into the edible, actually medicinal, both plants. Jim, when it comes up your turn, let me know. Have you ever tried Moxie? If you've been to Maine, you've got to have tried Moxie. I actually found it in Otto's Market in Germantown when I was here and had to get me one as a refresher. What people don't know is the flavoring of Moxie is gentian violet. And gentian violet is both an edible and it also was used highly medicinally for quite a long time as an antiseptic. So let me know if you ever tried Moxie or any of the other local ones. They were interesting, to say the least, back then.
All right, very good, and I'm sure Jim will hold on to that question. And Moxie, yeah, I never heard of that. Well, I've heard of it, but I've never tried it. I didn't realize that was popular in Maine, but I'll have to put that on my try list because that sounds interesting. All right, let's roll on down to Don, KD2 QQV.
KD2 QQV here, just listening. Really have nothing more to add, except can't forget about the trees. The acorns are edible as well. You want to make sure some acorns are different than others. You probably want to get the white oak acorns, but they're very healthy for you. You could be like a squirrel. All right, that's about it for me. Back to net, KD2QQV.
All right, very good. I think you can eat both the white and red oak acorn, but they need to be leached for about 3 days in water and flushed to get the tannins out. And then you can make actually a really delicious flour with them, which is excellent in cookies and that sort of thing. Anyway, let's roll on down to Jim, K2BHM.
Okay. We're both sitting here wondering what the heck is Moxie. The woman at the information center up in Portland never told us about Moxie. Can you enlighten us? K2BHM?
All right, I'm going to put you guys direct KD2 TQS and K2BHM. Pick it up direct.
Moxie is a New England local soda. All sodas, Coca-Cola and Pepsi in particular, were originally medicinals and not soft drinks. Pepsi was to cure dyspepsia, which was common in the 1800s. Coca-Cola used cocoa extract to help with the same thing.
Yeah.
Moxie is a local drink that was made using local herbs for, again, basic
makes
general
sense.
tonics and medicinal stuff. Very, very unique flavor, very regionalized. I was quite surprised when I found it
Oh, really?
in Otto's.
Interesting.
But it's a
YTFP.
soft drink.
I'm going to have to
It's a
try
very
this
unique
stuff.
taste and flavor, and it's unique pretty much now to Maine more than anywhere else. Over.
Have I got it? Thanks, that explains it. It's not alcoholic. No, it's, never heard of it. I've heard of some other unique things and stuff like that, but, that's one thing that I've never come across.
Yeah, it's got to be fresh, Palmer.
Wow.
Totally
Thanks.
different if it's not. All right, I think that exchange is done, and yeah, Ken, thanks for enlightening us on that, and I'm glad to know that's at Otto's. I'll have to swing by there when I'm up in the Germantown area and pick one of those up and try it, because that's one I've never tried, and yeah, it makes sense that that would be a local, like a New England version of Pepsi or Coca-Cola. Huh. Well, thank you for bringing that information to us, and let's roll on down to Neil, W2 and DG.
Alright, I can address a few of these things. I've seen Moxie, never actually tried it. I do know
That's
of it.
awesome, Geeky.
And I can't remember where, but there is a store
Hey, Nessie.
somewhere in this area that I've
Start
been
that
into more
party.
than once that has Moxie, Vernors,
Vernors is good too.
all these local, or regional sodas. Cheerwine, which is from the Carolinas, and there's a couple others.
Hey, Nestor.
I can't think of what they are, but they have all of them. It's funny as you go to one of these areas, and actually Vernors I think might be done or gone, but Canfields is still one of those northern New York
Getting
things.
fat just listening.
You'll see that too. But yeah, it's strange. You go to an area and they look at you like you're nuts if you've never heard of it. Let me drop for a second. Acorns are a great subject. So somebody who harvests them frequently, and Yul Gibbons, if you've ever read about him, was one of these people who would go into the woods and find an oak tree that had produced acorns.
Can't find
And
it here,
yes, the
Geeky.
white ones are actually easier to leach than the reds. They have
Had
less
it in Michigan.
tannic acid in them. And he
I'm
would
not skipping
sample
Nessie.
acorns from different trees and settle on the ones that had the least bitterness. And
Trying to
he
get
could
this shirt off
roughly
again by
judge
making me
by
blush.
how bitter they were, how long they needed to be leached. And in one of his books that I read, he and a bunch of people who were camping one time came upon a white oak that was very healthy and had produced a ton of acorns that were almost completely sweet, not bitter at all.
Wow.
So it is possible, and it's definitely a food that nobody really uses anymore, but there's enough of it out there that we could probably feed people if we ever needed to. So, one more drop. The purple flowering raspberry, you've all seen it. It doesn't look like it's related to any of these other plants, but when I describe it, a lot of people remember, oh my God, I've seen this, and usually you don't see the berries because the birds
Yeah, I was
nail
gonna
them
say,
before
there you
can
go,
see the
Jim.
berry. But the leaves
Love
almost
Vernors.
look like a maple leaf,
Haven't had it in
and the
years.
flowers look like wild rose, and they're that same size.
Yes,
And it's only later on when the berry appears that you realize what it is. But they're interesting nice. They actually get planted as ornamentals sometimes because of the wild rose look. But really cool stuff. Give me a DG back to that.
All right, very interesting. Yeah, I'm definitely not familiar with that one, but I'll have to keep my eyes peeled for it. And Vernors, you mentioned Vernors. I've had Vernors Ginger-Ale in eons. I've only ever had that when I visited my cousin out in Michigan, or when he would come here and bring some with him. That's definitely one of my favorite commercially produced ginger ales. You know, aside from the high-end expensive ginger beers, that stuff is amazing. What a great sugar find for a 14-year-old kid to find in Michigan visiting his cousin. All right, this is KD2IN, Net Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. We'll do one last opportunity for check-ins here, and then we'll carry back to the top of the list. If there are any further check-ins, please call now.
K2LD Mobile, if you can possibly hear me.
Canada Dry is good, too. The net recognizes Bob, K2LD Mobile, and will give you priority because you're mobile. Pick it up.
Just wanted to quick drop in and say hello, see how things are going. I'm on the mountaintop right now, so it's a little bit of a stretch for the mobile.
Nice.
But, figured I'd say hi. What's going on there?
All right, very good. You got a little bit of picket fence in there, but glad you dropped in to say hello, and hope I think you said you're already on top of the mountain, so that's awesome. You're almost home, but glad you checked in, and I don't know what else to say. I'll just give you one more opportunity while you're mobile. I don't want you to lose the repeater before we say good evening.
Yeah, I wasn't catching all too much because it was very weak signal as I was driving up, but now I'm on top of the mountain, so I can hear you a little bit better. Don't know what the trend of the conversation was. Everything is doing good up here. Got all sorts of plants growing very nicely. The raspberry plants that you gave me are starting to grow again from the bottom, from the roots. So hopefully the deal will be Malone this time. And that's it. How are the fig trees doing? They still alive?
KD2IN. I'm glad that those raspberries are coming back for you. Glad things are growing well up there. And one of the figs died, and the other one is doing okay. It's actually putting out its first true leaf. So glad to see some progress happening there. So thank you for those. And yeah, we're just talking about wild edible foods in relation to Field Day, a topic that Steve, K2GOG, brought up. So I'll put it back to you.
I don't really have any wild edible foods that I can really offer up on the table tonight. I'm very short on that subject. I can't say that I know much about anything when it comes to wild edibles because I don't really head in that direction. Too much danger out there unless you really know what you're doing. So turn it back to you and keep it going.
All right, sounds good, Bob. Well, thanks for checking into the net, and we'll come back to you on the next go-around if you're around, and if you're not, that's okay too. Glad to have your check-in, and glad to hear an update on your gardening operations up there. So glad things are doing well. All right, let's roll back to the top of the list to K2GOG.
All right, it's K2GOG. Good evening, everybody. Hello, Bob. Good to hear you in there. Hope everything's well in the mobile. So I think I was successful in trying to have a good topic. I think we hit it on a couple rounds, which I think might be a little bit of a record. But now I feel like I can go off into all the different rabbit holes that usually happen. So let me think where to go. So white oaks, when I lived on Long Island, we had one. I harvested quite a lot of acorns. They're high protein content, so aside from the whole leaching, when you do get to a point where anyone wants to start making them into flour by grinding them in a mill, you have to really dehydrate them quite a bit. You got to get all the moisture out. So that was a fun thing. I baked bread out of it. It was rather tasty, but honestly, it's a lot easier to go to the store. So that was kind of a one for, although I think if Kate was on here, she'd probably love to chat about this. I know she's all into that. So that's that. The other type of berries that Neil was talking about. Very familiar with that because the red-winged-tip blackbirds love to eat those. Also, when I lived on Long Island, and they would like to sit on the porch railing that I freshly stained a nice gray color and excrete them. And those purple stains were really hard to get off. So, yeah, I have unfond memories of that. And what else? I had broiled scallops and flounder tonight for dinner, and we have a leftover crab cake in the fridge, which will be tomorrow's lunch. So that was a nice change of pace. It's been a while since we've actually been out to eat. This is the first time that we've done socially distanced dining outside at Joe Willie's and Wappingers, I guess they are. So that was good, and it was kind of sad because our waitress didn't tell us about the special, and I found out later that they had soft-shell crabs, and so I would have had that rather than what I did, so that was annoying. Let me let it drop. And let me think what else. Blueberries. I've not seen them at Ferncliff. I would not be surprised if they're over there. I do know of a number of places that have wild blueberries, and it's always fun to time my hiking travel to gorge on wild blueberries. Those are always super tasty. And they're not that expensive. They're free. So that's even better, because blueberries, even when they're in season, it seems that the price on everything keeps going up. But now I'm sounding like an old man. But anyway, with that, I think I kind of hit everything. Oh, no. And then on the Moxie soda and all that other kind of fun stuff. Moxie's another one of those soft drink kind of elixirs that's been around, I think, since like the 1870s. So I don't know. I think it would be fun if a couple of these different types of beverages maybe showed up at field day. That would be kind of neat. We could all do a individual can per person who would like to try them to maintain the health and safety. But that should be fun. And I'm pretty sure we'll have our own porta-john. So if anyone eats the wrong berry that Neil may have misidentified, or has a different type of cola that has a laxative effect, we'll have clean facilities for everybody, which we've been talking about as part of the Field Day Planning Committee. Anyway, before I take us down any further rabbit holes, I'll park it right there and send it back to CJ.
Good Lord, that's a field of rabbit holes, but through the din of battle, all I heard was crab cakes. All right, well, thanks for opening a whole range of discussion, and we'll put it on down to David, KD2, MQE.
MQE, he's a hard act to follow, so I don't know. Moxie, Mike, Oscar, X-ray, India, Echo, and all of that. It was not only a beverage, but it was, it became a cultural thing. Like it meant something. Like it meant that you were like a tough guy or something. I think in the 50s and 60s. But so it was a whole thing. And I found a bottle somewhere years ago, and I was disappointed. But maybe we'll find some when we're foraging out in Field Day and see if they're in the earth. And we can determine whether the earthbound ones are better. My favorite lobster is south of Damascata, but just playing on that way. And I think that's it for me. Yeah, that's it. Thanks. Back to you.
All right, very good. Well, thanks for your contribution, David, and we'll roll on down to Guy, KD2 TLF.
Very interesting conversation tonight. Thanks, Steve, for getting it started. I'm definitely, my mouth is watering for some seafood now. That you mentioned a whole bunch of things. Started with the lobster, crab cakes, scallops. Oh well, maybe I'll have a bowl of cereal or something. KD2 TLF.
A bowl of cereal actually sounds really good. I haven't had a bowl of cereal in several months. Every once in a while I go on a binge and get some cereal, and boy, that's a nice comfort food. All right, let's roll on down to KD2 TQS, Ken.
KD2 TQS. Only thing I have is pass a comment Neil, which Steve already brought up, we definitely got to talk to Kate, because she does have a flour mill, she does have a dehydrator, she's got all the rest of it, and she's got enough of those up in her neck of the woods.
Thanks, Palmer.
So, that's all I have on that. Passing back to them.
All right, very good. Well, thanks for your contribution, and I'm sure Neil will pick your question up. And we'll roll on down to Don, KD2 QQV.
Just going over some stuff that I gotta get done tomorrow, but it was a good net. I learned a lot, and learned a lot about wild plants and what you can eat and stuff like that. But I kind of know a little bit. I know you can make from pine needles. They're not, but you can make tea out of them. But that's about it. I said what I wanted to say tonight, and I hope everybody has a good night the rest of the night, and send it back to the net. KD2QQV.
All right, very good, Don. Well, thank you for your contribution as well. And yeah, actually, a good portion of the entire pine tree is edible. The needles can be used for tea. The pollen can be used for medicine and also balancing hormones. It's high in vitamins A, B, C, and D, among others. And the inner part of the bark can also be used to make a flower. So it's a super versatile plant. And then, of course, you can eat the pine nuts, and I'm sure there's about 10,000 other things that either Neil or Ken could go into. But let's roll on down to Jim, K2BHM.
Thanks, DJ, K2BHM. Yeah, I had fond memories when I was a kid. Very close friend of my dad's had a garden in his backyard. He was a blacksmith, and we would go over and make things there, and then while you were there, you could pick fresh tomatoes,
yes, you can, TFP.
Corn on the cob, rhubarb, stuff like that. Oh my God, you couldn't beat taking a corn cob off the stalk and bringing it home and sticking it in hot water within minutes and tasting it. Oh, it was just awesome. But anyhow, and one of the other things I remember was, we had strawberries and raspberries and stuff like that, but there was something that was black that was called thimbleberries. And that was something else in my childhood that I remember but don't remember seeing since. I don't know if anybody else has experienced that or what or whatever, but be curious to see if it's been renamed or whatever.
Black raspberry jam.
Yeah.
All right, very good. That may also be what the black cap is called. I'm not sure, Jim. But let's roll on down to Neil, W2 NDG.
I think it was Ken brought up
I like
we
those
really
messages.
wanted to do something with the acorns. Yeah, stick-craft probably is possible. And I'm sure that not only would Kate figure out how to turn them into usable flour and some sort of starch, but she probably knows also how to ionize them and turn them into rudimentary transistors. But it should be interesting. But, there's plenty of other edible nuts in the woods that don't need quite so much treatment. Although, if I'm encouraging anybody to pick up black walnuts, please wear gloves. Always wear gloves.
Yeah, I check cherries.
W2NDG, back to that.
All right, very good. Well, thanks for your thoughts and advice as well, Neil. And then we're back down to Bob, K2LD, if he's still within range.
Well, I'm well in range because I'm home now. So, yes, I'm definitely here. And I have had my share of black walnuts, and I understand the need for having gloves. Don't really have a great taste for them, though. I'm not really a big fan of black walnuts. What I really liked a lot was chestnuts. And back when I was a kid, on Fordham Road in the Bronx, there would be tons of chestnut trees
we would just go down and just pick up the drop-in and have a load of them. Of course, they're all gone now, and if you want chestnuts, they're like $6 or $7 a pound in the store. So you have to really decide on what you want to eat. That's all I got. Back to you. Sorry, back to that. K2LD.
All right, very good. I actually do love the black walnuts. We used to get some from a neighbor down the street. We used to pick up a truckload every year and dump them in the driveway, and then we'd let that outer husk rot down a bit, and then we'd stomp them off with our boots, and we'd dry them out by the fire and open them up with a hammer and eat them, and they were delicious. The chestnuts I have not tried, but that sounds delicious also. I'm going to have to go ahead and wrap this net up because I have another obligation I have to roll onto here, so I hate to cut this short so fast, but thank you everyone who joined the net. Greatly appreciate your participation and excellent conversation. Of course you guys can carry on the conversation after I close the net, but I got to wrap this up, so just one sec here for announcements. This is KD2IIN Net Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. This has been another session of the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net, sponsored here on the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club Repeater every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Other nets we have are the Thursday Night Net. That's the Thursday Night Chat Net. That's usually much more technically oriented. That's run by Dave, K2JLV. I encourage you to join that as well. That's 8 p.m. on Thursday. And then we have an informal morning net at 8:35 a.m. run by Paul, AC2UQ. And then we have a 6:30 p.m. daily net here run by rotating net controllers. And that is a slightly more formal daily net where everyone can check in and converse and see what's going on. If you want to find out more about our club, you can always visit our website at www.omarcclub.org. That's whiskey, 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 Oscar, Mike, Alpha, Romeo, Charlie, Charlie, Lima, Uniform, Bravo, Oscar, Romeo, Golf. Thanks to all those who participated. This is KD2IIN saying 7-3 and inviting you to join us again next week. Thanks everybody. This was a great net. I look forward to talking to you all soon. KD2IIN will be clear, and this repeater is back under regular amateur use. Woot woot.
Thanks for running the net, CJ. It's a tremendous commitment to make every week, week in and week out, as well as the other net controls. So just want to say thank you, and best of luck with your commitment, K2JJ.
Thanks, CJ, K2BHM. And question, Bob, K2LD, you still there? K2BHM?
I am.
Okay. I sent you an email earlier. My wife has a couple of questions.
Yeah, it was a good night.
I wanted to check on your progress on the Raspberry Pi.
So thank you everyone, and we're going to roll over to Paranormal Portal. It's time to jump into the portal. So thanks everyone who watched and participated. Thanks Jem and Geeky and Bomber and YTFP and Chris and Nessie. And I hope I didn't miss anyone, but I probably did, and I love you all. So thank you. And I'll try and do a Thursday night Q&A live as usual. Hopefully I'll see you guys then and there. I'll see you in the portal if you're headed there. Thanks for watching the Pharmacy Seeds Network.